Welcome, everybody. I made a little agenda for today, the 21st Townhall meeting. We can have beer now. Whoop. Yeah, I'll quickly go over the outline of the agenda. It's pretty much the same structure we've been using a lot. It's simply an update on the work group progress for the Process Guild and the podcast work group. And then a little update on the tasks and rewards. And after that, there's some room for open topics / ideas. So without further ado, let's hop right in. On the Process Guild, we had a meeting this morning with Tivo and Ian. We worked on the process of translations a little bit more. And that touched on the bit of a discussion surrounding rewards as well, which we felt we could do within the Process Guild, but we could also have it a bit more neatly and have a separate Treasury Guild. So that also results in an open call for anybody who's interested in discussing these topics of how do we spend our budget and what kind of rewards go for which tasks. Right now, there's you can find it on the sheet. I'll also share it in the Ambassador Program channel after this call, or can do that right away actually. For a when to meet link for the week after the coming week, so we can have a bit of time for figuring out a time slot where anybody interested is available to join. Tifa, would you like to give a little outline on the plan there?
You mean on the Treasury Guild? Like agendas? Or you mean the Process Guild?
Well, what we discussed this morning during the Process Guild meeting. Then feeding into the Treasury Guild, I guess, because that's what happened during the meeting.
Alright, so at the start we took the results from the form last time related to the translation interview questions. We finalized that part of the document. We did some cleanupping again. And then, yeah, we started discussing about the topic of level, like summarizing 3 different levels of rewards and rewards. That rewards that started a new discussion. Okay, if you reach like a status as a translator that you have been receiving feedback before, that you're doing great work and you do it constantly, then at some point you get the full amount without actually having to go through the feedback process because we already trust you, and maybe do it monthly or twicely, but there's like a less overhead on your tasks. And then in this discussion we thought, okay, in the document we also want to outline like the main tasks and rewards, so it's more clear and people don't have to dive into Excel or Miro board to kind of figure out what is the possible compensation from the work doing here over time. And that led to kind of the discussion of, okay, there are some tasks which are entry level and some tasks which are more harder to do and more complex. So development tasks, however, would be more valuable than translator task. And that kind of thought, okay, it's a totally new thought process. And like totally 2 different ways and impacts when using these kinds of methods. And so a proper discussion there would be valuable, and that will feed back into the Process Guild to have a bit of an automatic calculator for the translation tasks. And then also considering that all the rewards are in AJX, so thinking of how do we cap or save or safeguard that if AJX tokens now explodes 4 times, so that we don't pay 4 times more, or maybe we do, and so let the limits. And if it drops down 4 times, is there any precautions we could take? kind of align the task rewards with the price. Yeah, so check your will to meet if you want a specific date or time for the meeting. And next week in the process guild, we will choose the best slot for everybody. And in 2 weeks, we're going to have that discussion. And in third week, we finalize it with the project management, right, of the teamwork tasking. And yeah, also next week, Tuesday, because this setting a time and date is going to be a very quick one, what we are going to do is just go over what I just kind of said, but in a written form. Is it okay? Is enough been said and not too much maybe to don't overwhelm? And we are going to start doing teamwork tasks and play through the process and see if we are able to follow the guideline we just created on ourselves. And if we are, then I don't know. I guess we launch a new project, like the new method of onboarding and rewarding people.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, absolutely correct. And something to note there is on the Treasury Guild, like the meeting we're now trying to arrange will not by default be let's say a weekly one. It can be bi-weekly or monthly even as needed. We'll figure it out as we go along, basically. So those interested, please do indicate your availability on the when to meet link. All right. Yes, the podcast work group. Julian, would you be able to give an update on what's going on at the podcast?
Sure. So I just updated the chat with a couple of items. The first is the document of the questions that I am planning for the interview with Gabriel Axel Montes of the Pathform project spinoff from SingularityNET, and also recently of the Gov3 project there was a proposal that got approved through Fund 9 of the Catalyst program. And also the guitar player in Jam Galaxy. So a big member of the SingularityNET family. And so Peter reached out and they did say that they were interested. I've since reached out further just to solidify things, and I'm still waiting on a response back, but hopefully I'm sure before long I'll hear back, and it looks like that interview will happen. Basically as soon as we can find a time to do that where they're available and I can do it as well. Hopefully sometime, as soon as possible. We'll have to see. So if they get back to me today, maybe we can do it tomorrow or something. Like I could try to fill it in. I like to have these episodes out on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, but at this point, I'm not sure how that's going to happen for this at least. So we'll just have to see when the interview is done, and then I'll probably just end up posting it when it's ready. And at this point, I don't really have a good idea for another just random episode. So I'll probably just wait to hear back from them to see when we can do that, and then that will come up as the next episode. I'll keep people informed as I know more for that. And other than that, but yeah, you could go through. There's a bunch of questions there. Probably more, like I said the last time with this one, I think is probably going to be more than what we can fit in a single interview. But I've got some jumping off points. There's a lot of stuff that I am kind of like-minded with. It seems like with Gabriel and There's a lot of interesting stuff there on the SingularityNET. If you go to the Singularity, the easiest way to do it is if you go to the SingularityNET YouTube, and then from there you like click it, and then you go to videos, and then you can go over to live. So you go over to like the main page, it'll say home videos playlists. So if you go over to videos, and then you'll see sort by on the far left, and then to the right of that there's videos, to the right of that is shorts, to the right of that is live. If you click, the easiest way to do is just to do live, and then from there you can scroll down to the bottom, and he has at least like 6 or 7 of these hour to 2 hour live streams that they did, and really interesting stuff talking about Pathform and their kind of origin stories, a bit about, their their origins for getting into science and spirituality, and kind of how those have come together and work with Ben and things of that nature. So there's a lot of cool stuff there. I would suggest people to check out. There hasn't been anything from Gabriel on the channel, I don't think, as of late, over the last like 6 months or so. But they were, it looks like the last one is maybe like 10 months ago. But he was out there for almost on like a weekly basis, it seemed like, for a while. So there's plenty of back and content for people to check out there if you're interested. And then there's new developments with the Gov3 stuff that they're doing with Catalyst, which I noticed. I think Haley just did a Medium post a couple days ago highlighting that, as well as the other projects related to SingularityNET that were approved through Fund 9. Other than that, I have been working with my artistic friend Craig, and I've recently sent over some basic designs. I'm a horrible artist, so it's crap. But basically the idea that we came to was, maybe having some sort of campfire overlooking like on the kind of like the edge of a cliff, and then behind it the backdrop would be like a smart city. And the idea for that came from the idea of, okay, this podcast is going to be called Stories from the Singularity. So you think, campfire stories. You're sitting around, you play music around the campfire, you tell stories. So kind of that's where the campfire aesthetic idea came from. And then behind it you would have obviously your smart city. This is like the city of the future, with similar to like the ideas of Singularius, this smart future city that SingularityNET is working on. And then it's kind of a broad idea, but basically I would be there, and then there would be a couple of maybe of the robots, or a couple of the members of the SingularityNET community. For example, like in this one, there's Desdemona and Ben, and we're kind of just all hanging out, maybe singing a song or telling a story by the fire. And so that's the idea there, that kind of zoomed in a little bit. Originally, I was talking a bit about this last week, but the original image I had was kind of spread out, or like it was further back, so we would be more of like kind of stick figures in the background. And Craig was talking to me about that. That's not really necessarily the best approach when you're trying to like build a brand on something, because you're trying to get people to recognize certain faces or ideas, and having it too far back might not be the best. So thinking about that, bringing it closer in, so you can just see some basic sketch ideas that I sent over to them, because my idea was to basically pre-game or pre-plan as much as humanly possible before Craig even steps into actually doing any of the work, because the more that I can do to plan things, the more we can save through the budget. And so with that said, so I can keep going, and then I wanted to mention something about that as well. But yeah, so basically Ben's there playing an accordion, I'm there with a guitar, Desdemona's kind of singing, we're all hanging out. Future City behind, and then the idea of creating some sort of a logo for the actual podcast. If I'm not sure, you guys, I'm assuming you can see these pictures, but the logo being perhaps like a campfire, and then like coming out of the campfire, you have like the SingularityNET logo of like the double helix kind of spiraling in and out look. That logo there kind of coming out of the fire in a kind of sleek way, or maybe coming out of the smoke from the fire. And that I thought could be a cool idea for the logo itself. And like, so if it's just sitting there on say like a podcasting app, or like on YouTube, for example, it could be like just that image there. That's my like, rendition of the idea. Not that it would be exactly that, but that's the general idea of it. And then we would have this more detailed picture as like an intro image or / YouTube banner, more of like something along those lines, but having a more sleek logo like that, that's more simple. And having the stories of the Singularity in there somewhere, I thought, maybe you get like a few different sticks with marshmallows on them kind of sticking out of the sides of the fire, and then maybe you have the stories from the Singularity kind of there. I don't know how messy that would be, but we got to figure out a way to get stories from the Singularity there somewhere. So these are all just my designs. I'm waiting to hear back from them. I just sent these out to him this morning, so I haven't heard back yet, but I'm sure I'll be hearing back soon. But yeah, that's the two main things we've been working on. And like moving forward, talking to Diane and a few of the members of Gem Galaxy to meet up with them after Rare Bloom to do an interview with them as well. So that should be exciting as well. But that's basically it at this point.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yep.
I'm curious to see what the illustration will end up like.
Yeah. It's something. It may, I don't know. We're just kind of going. I'm just deciding, hey, let's do something if it's not great. And obviously, we're still waiting to hear back on clarification. It may not be obvious, but we're waiting on clarification on whether or not we can get approval of, like, say, Sophia, some of the ones that are not just fully SingularityNET based. So, and we kind of decided maybe leaning towards, like Desi or Grace or something like that, where there's more, it's more like, SingularityNET based, maybe easier in regards to potential copyright issues, and basically maybe having like someone like Ben or someone that's not that's in the SingularityNET community instead of a robot that's has many different projects and people's kind of hands on. We don't want to end up stepping on anybody's toes or getting into any copyright issues, so we're still going through the motions with that.
Yep, we're all right. Then let me go to the next slide. Oh well, not before mentioning, of course, that for those interested in the podcast work group, they come on Discord at Mondays at 18 UTC.
Oh, I also wanted to mention with that too. So obviously I gave Craig the $300 for originally from. I mean, it was partially my money, but it was like $240 worth of the SingularityNET funds. And then this month for September, we got our rewards for there, which I then gave. I ended up giving him more than was there anyways. Like, basically, I gave him another $100. So there wasn't $100 worth of rewards for this month, but I just ended up giving him more. I mean, issue I'm running into, and maybe somebody can help me figure out a better way to do this, but if I'm gonna move like any amount of money, like the least amount I can really take out or move around for SingularityNet that I'm aware of, without having to do like one of the God, what is it? This pancake swap, not pancake swap, but the swap, like Uniswap or whatever. I know you have to have a decent amount of like Ethereum to even use that, which I don't have. So basically, what I've been doing is I put the amount of, AGIX that I want to send to KuCoin, and then from KuCoin, basically I have to sell whatever, and then I get USDT for that, and then I have to basically send that, which obviously they take a percentage from just doing that. And then I move that into like my main account from the trading account on KuCoin, and then to move that over, because like there's no way that I'm aware of on KuCoin to actually take out the USDT into an account that I'm aware of. Maybe there is. But so what I end up doing there is I send whatever the amount of USDT that I was able to get from selling the AGIX so that USDT gets sent to Coinbase, which I use. And just to send even like $50 worth of USDT, they charge you a flat fee of $25. So like if whatever amount of monthly things, if I want to do anything with it, I'm looking at $25 just to send it over to, Coinbase. And then even for like a small amount, you're talking at least $5 in fees to like convert your USDT over to US dollars. And then basically either wait like 1 to 3 days and it's free, or you can pay an additional fee to get out the money right away. So it's looking at like at least like $30 in fees, just to like do anything with the marketing, or like not the marketing, but like the budget that we've been getting monthly for the podcast. So I don't know, whatever. I was hoping maybe somebody knew a better way to do that, or if not, I've been wondering like what amount, like I've basically been using like my own money to pay for all these fees to be able to do this. But I know we had briefly talked about it, Peter, but I wanted to like talk to everybody and see like what we think is like fair for that. Should I like be allowed to use any of the money that's coming in for funding for the podcast to be able to help pay for the fees, or like I just don't know what the consensus is on that, or what I even think is fair, you know what I mean? Like, and then it gets even more complicated sometimes, because like if a lot of like these last couple of times I just took out because I wanted money for myself because I needed money as well. So I'm also taking some, like I'm transferring, like for example, this last month, the full, 7,500 that I got sent over to my Coinbase and was taken out and blah, 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 blah. And then also keep in mind that I'm going to have to pay taxes on all that, which is, whatever. But so it's not just as simple as me just doing all this for the, podcast itself. It's like also me taking money out at the same time for myself. It's not always going to be like that, but like I said, that has been the case. So how does that fit in, and what is the fair delineation there in people's minds? And also, like, keep in mind, say in the future I just want to only take out the money for, say, the podcast funds for that month, and I don't want to use any, so I'm not taking anything out for myself. I'm only just trying to get the money out that was given by SingularityNet to the podcast to use for funding. Like, what is the, kind of fairness with that sit, I guess, is what I was interested in hearing from everyone about.
we handled for some pretty same problems, which we discovered pretty early already. And one thing what should absolutely be a no-go is that people have to pay from their own pocket for tools which the whole group needs. So this is definitely something which, for example, with Swarm, I think we pay something around $500 per month only for tools, which we use at general. And what I would love to ask you, maybe a really simple sheet, just list the tools which you need with the monthly budget to it. And I think this definitely should be covered from the SingularityNET and Swarm proposal already, for example. That we say, hey, okay, we put the budget besides for, let's say, a half a year, for example, and we can be sure that you don't have to pay personally for this. Because that's another issue, that core contributors, they anyhow don't earn a lot, and they don't have any possibility actually to build up their own stock, because all the tokens they receive, they directly have to pay to cash out just to survive. And so, yeah, you should definitely be able to keep some of your HAX for you. Don't spend them into tools. And yeah, and that's why we have proposals, I would say, right? That's why we have budgets available then.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's one thing to let's say the tokens you get awarded for leading the podcast work group, and I would feel if you choose to want to cash those out, that's fully your decision. But I would say the fees for that would make sense to be for yourself. But if you want to use the other portion you're getting to spend on supporting the work group, I think that should also, the fee should be paid from that.
Sure. So like if I say, for example, like if I do both, like say for like this last month where I took out both at the same time, and would you then say like, would that be like a 50-50 split as far as the fees go? Because both are happening? Or...
Yeah, I guess that makes sense to me. And then zoomed out a little, if it turns out that fees are eating so much into the budget you have available, and if it eats so much that it stops you from being able to use it, we could have another look at the budget. I mean, that's a separate discussion. But bottom line, I fully agree with Felix's response there. You should not be paying out of your own pocket for these kind of things.
Yeah, I think like I'm trying to think for this exactly what the layout of everything was, but I think it was like it ended up without considering any of the fees involved. I think like if you were to split everything up, because 2/3, 5,000 are awarded to me, and then 2,500 are awarded to basically the fund for the podcast or whatever. So like without any of the fees involved, it basically was, I think, 108 after everything was said and done. I think it was like basically around $100 for the podcast funds, and then like $200 for me basically. But that's not including, like I said, it's like you're talking $30 bare minimum just to like get any of the funds out on a, so it I don't know, it probably went down into like the 70, like I don't know, it would be, so it's like 100 and I think it was 108, but then there's $30 in fees. So yeah, so it's just like, I don't know, it's getting to the point where it's okay. It's like I can take it out, but at a certain point it's like, yeah, depending on how low I guess the price goes, then yeah, if you have like less than $50, like if I send over the amount of money that, or say I send over the $2,500 or 2,500 tokens over to KuCoin and then cash those out, if it's not to the equivalent of like $50, like you can't even move it, you know what I mean? Like you can't even, like I can't even send it over. So we're getting, it's not too far off from like being an issue, but it's not an issue at this point. I mean, it's, I'm definitely grateful to have like anything. It's just like the only thing I was thinking, which we've talked about before, is just like sending, if I have like $70, it's just weird to be like, it could work for the right, task or bounty or something, sure, but for like what I've been using it for with Craig, it just seems a little weird to send somebody like $65. But then I was thinking, hey, just save. Maybe I just save like we had talked about before. Maybe you just kind of hold them for a while, or maybe sell them if the price goes way up or something. But you could always stockpile them, and then because at a certain point it might make more sense to wait like a period of time and then send them out when there's a larger amount to
Yeah,
send. That's
Alternatively, you could also simply look to spend them as tokens and skip the whole fiat. Of course, then you're depending on the person you're interacting with if they think that's a good idea.
Oh, you mean just giving them the tokens?
Well, like I guess, like if you get to go to an external party like this illustrator, that's not really gonna work out. But internally, like within the ambassador group, yeah, there's no need for this whole switching to fiat so much.
Yeah. Yep. No, it definitely it's gonna depend on the use case. So yeah, it's just I've noticed some hiccups with the use case that I've been using at this point. That's all. But yeah, I was kind of coming to the same. I had the same idea basically as you did, Peter, which was just if we're gonna both do it at the same time. If I'm taking mine out and the funds out, then just do 50-50 seems fair. But if not, yeah, then that would be cool if we could just like Felix said, I'll put everything that I'm spending for the podcast out there, and then we can just talk about I can do that like for next week, and then we can just talk about what we think should be covered and what shouldn't be, I guess.
Sure thing. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Then let me go to the next sheet. I think. Yeah. That for now. I think that covers the podcast work group. Let's see. There was on the tasks little update. I added the blog post on the September ecosystem update, and Q3 operations update is not out yet. Should be coming this week. So that will pop up in the indie work. I do want to point out something which, will not be done through deep work, but still, it's a nice way of earning some tokens for those interested. I want to do a little additional shout out to the deep funding community governance experiment we're currently running. I shared the link in the slides. Basically, we talked about this before, and basically what it comes down to is get involved in sharing your opinion on deep funding and how to improve it for round 2, and get rewarded with both tokens and reputation and a warm fuzzy feeling on the inside, which is, well, cannot express that in tokens, of course.
I just go for the last one. Beautiful. There you got me.
Yeah, there's plenty of content out there on YouTube explaining there's blog posts, there's videos by Jan. You can watch last week's community session, the Zoom call we had about this topic, where a couple of people basically presented their proposal and got discussed. There will be another session coming up next, not tomorrow, but the week. Am I correct? Let me quickly verify if that's actually correct. It might be actually tomorrow instead of next week. Yep, that's tomorrow. Nice. Tomorrow at 16 UTC, there's another community call, and participating in these calls is also seen as one of the ways of interacting with during the experiment. So there's also rewards for joining that call and sharing your opinion live. Just wanted to point that out. I think that's pretty much most I wanted to cover. I do want to give a little shout out to Singularity DAO Dynasets being alive again, open for contributions. quite a milestone there. Yeah, so for those interested, I'm sure you'll know where to find them. They released a new dApp, which looks pretty fucking shiny. Yeah, just happy to see that. So I wanted to share.
Can you drop a link so I can put it on my report?
Sure thing. It's SingularityDAO.ai. I can type it out.
I thought it's gonna be like app.2.SingularityNET.
No, it's relatively straightforward now after the update, let's say. V1, rather. And there's a new Dynaset, the DYDX Dynaset, which uses, well, the DYDX platform and can use leverage up to 20x. It's a pretty interesting concept right there.
Never use leverage. Not in financial advice.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, not financial advice. Absolutely. Pretty curious though how that will pan out. Yeah, does anybody have any thoughts to share? Any questions to ask? Any ideas? Anything? All right, that's pretty clear then. I think that's a wrap. Yeah, cool. Thanks all for attending, and hope to see you tomorrow during the Deep Funding Community Governance call. And if not, maybe next week during one of all the other calls we're hosting. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for hosting, Pete.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.